everyone. Sorry if the light is a little harsh today. I wanted to spread the good news or something. Today we're talking about a board game called 5 Minute Dungeon. This is sort of a family accessible game by Spin Master. And I absolutely love this game, but almost everyone else in my playgroup does not. Alright, I've set up what like a 3-player game would look like. This is for 2 to 5 players, and it is cooperative. So either everybody wins or everybody loses, which is the aspect of it that some parts of my playgroup don't care for, because they don't understand who won, and I'm like, all of us, but who won? All of us. It also very much takes communication. It is definitely a communication game. So the title 5 Minute Dungeon does in fact refer to the fact that you try to complete the dungeon within 5 minutes, and if you do not, you lose. There are actually more than one dungeon. There are 5 of these. And you start at the first one, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Progressively, I guess harder. Yeah, progressively harder because they add more stuff. Anyway, but they look like this. When you get down to it, like these are the cards you need, or on this side, you know, whatever. But you start with the first one, which is the baby barbarian here. You set this up with, each of these has a number of door cards, and that is these cards, and their various monsters and obstacles and challenges and whatnot. And then you also add, these are called challenge cards, and you add 2 of these per player into the number of cards in the dungeon. And then you set them down. Each player has a hand when you start, and they're all, lots of them are cards like this. Monsters will have, things can be either like monster, obstacle, or person. Like I have pulled, this is the Barbarian, and he is a person. So those are the different types of obstacles, and each character, each 2-sided character board, each character has its own ability, and they are different on both sides of the board. So the sorceress and the wizard are not functionally the same character, and the decks coordinate to the colors of the characters. Although I don't think it really matters. It might. But it probably wouldn't hurt anything if y'all just didn't pay attention to that. But like the sorceress has an ability that is teleport, and it's discard 3 cards to defeat an obstacle. So she can't defeat a person with that power, but actually the ninja over here has discard 3 cards to defeat an obstacle. So if the ninja were to discard 3 cards, you would ignore this and move on. As far as regular play though, regular play is you have, let me actually be good and look up how many cards. So if you're in a 3-player game, 4 cards is your starting hand size. 3, 4, yeah, that's what I all just looked at. So as you can see, I have these. There are also special cards that, like, Fireball defeats a monster, and there's one called Magic Bomb that counts as a symbol of any kind. But what you're looking for is you're looking for symbols that match the card you're fighting against. So like, as you see, there's 2 swords and a shield, and I have none of those. But if we were to play 3 players all on our lonesome because no one else will play with you, not true. But see, like my fellow players have the cards needed, and so that is a defeated person. And then you redraw up to 4. You can redraw as soon as you discard. All of this happens very quickly, of course, because it's all meant to happen within 5 minutes. You flip over the next thing and like, oh look, 2 scrolls and a sword, done. Yeah, and gameplay just proceeds like that. It takes communication, it takes being quick, it takes knowing that, like, if you get into a situation where nobody has, of course it's not going to happen right now, I'm just going to manufacture it. Nobody has the right cards, or like nobody has the right cards or the right power to defeat this, and we all have full hands, so we just start discarding and picking up. You can do that. That's definitely a thing you can do. Why do I care? Because I had an argument about this the first time that I played it. But you can discard at any time. There's not a rule specifically against that. So that's. But the give and take is that if you might discard the card you need later, obviously. But if you're in a bind, you just start discarding cards and pulling new cards. The only thing that is different is in a 2-player game, there are not enough cards really, so you will take a second deck and shuffle them together. So each player will have, so you'll have the equivalent of a 4-player game worth of cards, but just 2 players with those cards. There are cards in here and powers that are like, give your hand to the next person or take somebody else's hand, which are also great things you can do so that you don't lose cards, but that person then has to redraw their entire hand and maybe gets the card you need. And so play advances. At the end of the however many minutes, that is less than 5, if you have defeated the dungeon, you put everything back, you shuffle it all back together, sort it back out, and you start on Dungeon 2. Now, according to the rules, if you fail Dungeon 2, you have to go back to Dungeon 1. I did play a 2-player game with Mr. Dragon where we did not do that because it took us 2 tries to get through the first dungeon. And we actually tried 3 or 4 times to get through the second dungeon, and it just did not happen for us. You know, whatever. But yeah. I was having fun, but we quit. We couldn't win and we quit. But yeah, it's really simple, but it's actually really fun. So there's, you probably can't see this very well, but there's this free app that is the timer, and it's like the official timer, and you can choose a narrator that is either epic, spiteful, fearful, dramatic, or Scottish. So it really.
The dungeon adventurers, do you have what it takes to escape? 3, 2, 1, go!
But yeah, it counts you down. It is your timer. You can pause it because there are cards and powers that allow you to pause it. You can either tell it we won or we lost, and it will give you.
Oh no, you've run out of time.
Yeah, and it will say something sassy at you when it hits 5 minutes naturally, and you've lost. It'll say encouraging things or whatnot. If you hit pause if you finished and hit we won, and then it'll just reset. But it's that's super cute. Like, that's a really great touch that they didn't just tell you to like find a timer or just give you like a sand timer. They're like, no, technology is a thing right now, so here's this app with these like really atmospheric like music and narrators, and I just genuinely love this game. Like, this is amazing to me, and if it sounds like the kind of thing that you would like, I happen to have bought this at Toys R Us as they were going as they were going out of business. You know, I know words some days. So I got it for a little bit of a discount, but it was like maybe $20 to start with. It's a cheaper board game because it's a family game. So it's not one of those like expensive Catan style nonsense, which, I mean, I love big expensive games. I just generally don't have money. So, you know, it's nice that it's a cheaper game. It's really quick play. Like, if you really want to, you can do just any one of the dungeons. Like, let's just start at Dungeon 5 and see what happens, and like just keep trying that, or not. It's as quick or as short as you want, because you can defeat one dungeon and be like, that's all we wanted to do today, or it can last for quite a while if you try to do each dungeon, and do them sequentially and starting back over if you don't defeat a dungeon, can actually quite extend the playtime. It's like, as I told you, it took us with a 2-player game, like, we never beat the Grim Reaper, just dungeon number 2. But we will one day. I'm sure we will. And just the last thing, like, the art style is pretty cute on these cards too, and a lot of the like monsters and stuff are puns or hilarious. Like, this one is called A Shortcut, and it's clearly a cave with a monster in it, or a cave that is a monster that is going to eat you. The Barbarian from earlier, oh my god. This one is called A Chair That Is Very Uncomfortable. And hopefully y'all can see that kind of alright. I moved it out of the light though. It's clearly the Game of Thrones chair. And like, we pulled that one time and I lost it because I just think that's so funny. Like, this one is called Squire Nedward, and that's just funny. And just like the art style is, oh god. I pulled this one, 2 Guys, 1 Bow, which is fun art, and also, what? This is definitely a game that is younger kids. It's 8 and up, so like younger kids are meant to be able to play it. And I'm like, if your 8-year-old knows what that's a reference to, you need to have a talk. I'm just like, wow. I'm sure it's like one of those ones that's built to go over the kids' heads, but the parents are supposed to appreciate it. But I was just like, oh my god, this is a family game, y'all. But it's hilarious. But yeah, it's such, like, even the like symbols, I do really like even just the symbols. Like, I think I kept calling this, like, Runny Man or whatever. I think it's supposed to be Speed or something. Like, they all have names, but I just didn't necessarily bother to learn, because then because we just go like, oh, running guy, arrow, sword, shield, and scroll. And that's whatever you need to call them to communicate effectively with the people you're playing with, because it doesn't really matter, except for so long as you actually, you know, communicate with each other and understand what you're saying to each other. So yeah, that's just my little Labby likes on 5-Minute Dungeon, and why, if you're like me and you like all of these aspects, you might want to try out this game. I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Ellie, get out of here.